Good afternoon. This is Larry DeYoung again. I have created a website called LarryThePatriot.com. I wanted to share today a little bit about my first book and why I'm writing these books. As I've described in my other speech, I was observing what was going on in our culture, and I realized that we were in big trouble. The New World Order wants to have one world government in 2030. What George Soros and Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and so many others call the Great Reset, that is the beginning of one world government. Well, actually, it's not the beginning, it's the culmination, because the United Nations was the beginning of one world government way back at that early stages back in the 50s. And so the United Nations all along has been working toward the one world government. So this has been a long time coming. And as I mentioned earlier, 55% of our Gen Zs want socialism in the 2032 election. And so the crisis is that our young people are going to vote for socialism if we do not reverse the depression amongst our youth. I'm talking not only our prodigals, bringing our prodigals back into the church, but those young people who are in the culture who have given up on life and are thinking about committing suicide. So for them, one world government, socialism, that's the only solution that they can see. But the church has the answer. Jesus is the answer, and the church, and all with Jesus and the church, we can make it through what's coming. But they don't know that. And our pastors are too afraid to tell them, because we're going to have to attack all the controversial ideas that made our youth depressed in the first place. So this is why there's such a controversy about dealing with cultural issues by our evangelical pastors, is they don't want controversy. So we only have 2025 to 2030 to reverse the depression of our whole youth culture. I'm confident that God wants to have a massive revival amongst our youth. If the evangelical church will just get some courage to start talking the truth to our young people. Now, my first book is to the young people, and it deals with 30 major ideas that have destroyed the confidence and the hope of our young people. Most of these are outside of psychology. And the reason is that psychology does not want to deal with many different reasons for depression. The obvious is they do not want to deal with bad ideas that are creating hopelessness. They don't want to admit that. But also, they do not want to criticize what the culture is teaching our kids in the first place, even though that's what's causing them to be depressed. Things like evolution, for example, narcissism, nihilism, there is no truth, so there's no purpose in life. They don't want to deal with those because those are spiritual concepts, but they don't believe in the spiritual. So I'm going to go through just a handful of these ideas to give you an idea what this first book is about and what issues are that I'm going to be addressing with our youth. The first one is evolution. For the last 80 years, Evolution has been taught in all our schools. All our children, all the way from grade school on up, all the way from the 60s, have been taught evolution. We are here because of chance. There's no reason we're here. There's no purpose that we're here. It's just all by chance. We're just an advanced monkey. That's all we are. So therefore, if we abort a baby, that's no big deal. It's just some flesh. It has no value. And so all these ideas, many, many ideas that they have been taught, are all based on evolution. The idea in the universities that is being taught also is nihilism. There's no truth. Jean-Paul Sartre from France has destroyed the lives of so many million of our young people because his false and godless ideas are still being taught in the university. So there's no truth, there's no purpose in life, so why not commit suicide? So many of our prodigals as well, because they were not taught what was going on in the culture and they were not taught a defense of the Bible, apologetics, which Dr. Schaeffer warned about in the 70s and 80s, our young people left the church, became prodigals, and now they are suicidal, depressed, hopeless, and we're praying every night for our long-lost black sheep of the family. Another major issue that I deal with is AI. Our university professors are telling our young people that for a lot of you, AI is going to take your job in a few years, and you're not going to be able to pay off your loans because you're not going to have a job. And so AI is going to take the jobs of hundreds of millions of people in the world over the next few years. And for many young people, this is going to be the end of them because they have no reason to live. We all know how important it is to have a job to give meaning and purpose to our life. But if we do not have a job and all we do is sit around every day and do nothing, very quickly a lot of people are going to decide to just check out and take a pill and end their life. Another major issue I deal with is feminism. Feminism, since the 70s, has absolutely destroyed the relationship between the men and the women and therefore destroyed the family. Today, feminists are calling all men toxic masculinity, that no men can be trusted. All men are the cause, all white men are the cause of all problems of the world, which is radical race theory ideas, critical race theory. And so the end result is that dating women like this is so toxic that many men go run for the hills. Then we have division. The culture war is creating a division between the younger generations and the older generations by all the lies that they're teaching to the younger generations. And so even within families, the older generation can no longer talk to the younger generations. Another major issue that I deal with is fatherless children. When fathers are not allowed to play a significant role in the lives of their children because of divorce, this very greatly affects the young people, and many of these young men and women end up pregnant, drop out of school, get in trouble with the law and use drugs and all of this. And it all goes back to the lack of a father in their life. And so the feminists are creating the idea that all men are toxic, so they don't even allow a father to be involved in the life of the children because of divorce. Another major idea I deal with is narcissism. Narcissism is when a person blames everything that's wrong with their life on somebody else, and nothing is their problem. Well, when you put narcissism and feminism and toxic masculinity teaching all together, you basically have women who are impossible to live with. And so many, many men have stopped dating because it's hopeless. These women are out of control. They are selfish. They are argumentative. They don't care about men. They just think all men are just evil. So this has destroyed the courage of our men. And so our men are just deciding not to get married, not to have families. They're still living at home in their mom and dad's basement. Then there's the idea of critical race theory, CRT, which of course puts all the blame for all the problems of the world on white men. And needless to say, this has discouraged a lot of white men because they are being blamed for everything. Then there's propaganda and mass formation psychosis. In my book, I explain how propaganda for the last 75 years has totally controlled our culture. And unfortunately, even our pastors and our men in our churches have been influenced by these propaganda from the culture, and they're not standing up against it. And so I'm exposing these things basically to say, you don't know you got propagandized, but you did. Many people have a very hard time believing that they have believed the propaganda. But the proof is that many of our pastors believed the propaganda of COVID. And lastly, for today, there is a lack of a biblical worldview. Today, there is a lack of a biblical worldview. Because our young people never taught what God's perspective was on things, they see only the devil's view of things. And therefore, they see no hope. And so that has created chaos, conflict, hatred, and how can you have peace in your soul when you're taught to hate everybody? In my second book, I talk to the Evangelical church, to the pastors, to the men, and to the women that we need to get involved in reversing the depression of our young people and revival of our courage, or America's finished. The Great Reset is coming in only a few years. And if we have not fought and won back into God's kingdom, millions of our youth, they are going to vote for socialism in 2032. So God bless. Please visit my website, LarryThePatriot.com. And God bless you for now.